And 2.
Yeah, good evening, my brothers and my friends. And this night on the show is our elder brother, Maponga J, who is on the show with us to answer some difficult questions and to help us through a conversation. All of us coming from a religious background or a theological background where we may have done some theological studies, biblical studies, and most of us are in some kind of a church ministry where every day, every week, we interact with people and we minister to people. But having our brother in town this week in western part of Kenya, that is a Kitale town, having him this week in town, we thought it would be wise, so good for us to engage him. And him having gone ahead of us, in theological studies and in ministries, experiences, and him interacting in different spaces. We just thought about us engaging him this evening. So, Elder Maponga, we have a few questions to ask, but before we ask these questions, we'd just like you to help us or take us, through a little bit of your journey. And like yesterday, I had started by asking you how the canon was formulated or stuff like that. So these are some of the questions that we may be having. But on this panel, these brothers have a lot of questions to ask. So let me ask you to just take over and, yeah.
Oh, well, and interesting indeed. Thank you for having me on your program. I can guarantee you that there's no one in the whole world who has got answers to everything. Mm-hmm. And I know nothing. I'm a student of life. And many times people think that by doing an inquisition on other people, it confirms that they're right. No, it's your journey. Each one of us have our own journeys to travel. And your questions are found in your journey. And some information only gets revealed as you participate and engage in certain types of learning and practices and stuff like that. So I would like to start off our conversation on a very, very important subject, which was a deal maker for me. What really caused me to transform and change possibly for what I have now become or what I am becoming. Firstly, it is the concept of hermeneutics, which basically sits on biblical interpretation. I came from a systematic theology training institution where we did your basic formats of systematic theology, which was great fun for me as a theologian. Firstly, and to start having my mind soaked into the very core of dogmatics and formulation of doctrines and interpretations. The closest I came to an African interpreter was Joel Msosi, Zebulon Ncube, BT, and a few other African scholars who affected me when I was formulating. But I could openly say 99% of the interpretations that were on the shelf, available, ready for reading, were Eurocentric and Northern American and Germans and the old Catholic fathers being the storehouse of the very initial theologians to start cracking chords in the Bible. I then formulated what I might want to call a chart of interpretation. So the first one I bummed on was the systematic approach, basically taking systematic theology as it is into a structure of homiletics in terms of my preaching. Then I'll take the systematic chart, the theology, the Christology, anthropology, soteriology, ecclesiology, eschatology, and pneumatology. And then I would go on any passage of scripture. Then I would ask myself those 7 questions. What does this passage say about God? What does it say about Christ? What does it say about salvation? What does it say about man? What does it say about the church? What does it say about the second coming? What does it say about the Holy Spirit? In some cases, I would find all 7 there. In some cases, I would find 2. In some cases, I would find 1. And then I enjoyed my preaching quite for some time, and some of you could have watched, if you listen very carefully in some of those presentations. By no means am I taking chances. There's lots of work that will have gone behind there to prepare those scripts.
Right.
Then I went around 18 times reading the Bible, front, back, front, and the last time I think I was reading it backwards. And I got tired of that method. Then I went over and again into what I might call the Hebraic interpretation. When I went to Israel, spent some time there with the black Jews in Dimona, Samadiel and the rest of them. And I started learning to appreciate specifically the book of Leviticus, the book of Exodus, and bits and drips of the book of Deuteronomy. But specifically for my interest were the setting up of a Jewish Hebraic setting with feasts as the basis of ritual for the Hebrew mindset. And boom, I bumped again on the 7 feasts. That is your Yom Kippur, your Hanukkahs, your Pesach, and the rest of them. Then I would go back on the passage again. Even some of the passages I'd worked on earlier on, then I would go back again and say, what elements of this are being found on this passage? Right. And I saw a totally different new window, popping up where I had to accept that we are dealing with the Hebrew text and all other interpretations, in as much as I had used the European framework in my initial formative years. Yes. When I was mature now, I could actually say, okay, I hear what the Europeans are saying. Yes. Louis Beckhoff and the Schambackers and everybody else, I hear you. Yeah. But can we go back to the owners of the written text itself, which are the Hebrew people? So I had fun there. Right. And I would challenge some of you young pastors, you may want to take the Jewish feasts and put them on the chart there, and then go through the whole Bible and find out exactly what is this book all about. From that, it's because when you read the New Testament, it was the time of the Jews. It was the festival of the Jews. It was time for this. And you will not be able to appreciate all the New Testament. It is written. It is written. It is written. It is. And then all that context, you will have need to go and get your teeth cut into the Hebrew culture, as it were, to appreciate that. Right. Then a few years went past, and then I started having some jitteries around that. Well, I had a particular problem with the remnant theology, the chosenness of the Jews. Yeah. Then I wanted to zoom into that and say, but why is this chosen concept within the text? When in fact we are all in Genesis, there's no one who is chosen. Yes. Let us make man in our own image. There's no chosen there. Yeah. And later on in life, then you hear God beginning to have favorite children. And then I cracked on that. The book that messed my head up was The 13th Tribe by Ford. You will find that on the internet if you want to look for that book, The Ashkenazis. Revelation chapter 2, those who claim to be Jews and they're not Jews are from the temple, the synagogue of Satan, and one and on. And I went deep into that stuff of finding out who are the true Jews. When I discovered that these Jews are fake and they are false, my Hebrew interpretation started shaking again. So that's when I moved over into the African interpretation, bearing in mind that the Jews themselves will not be very far from the African themselves. Right. And then the whole appearance of the Africans on the text started becoming more exciting to me. The interpretation of slavery. Was it in the Bible? Yes. The book of Isaiah chapter 21, 22, 23, 24. Right. You shall be taken to lands afar. You shall be in boats, shall be beaten, your buttocks will be exposed, but I'll bring you back. Therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return. Yes. Then the whole concept of repatriation and the return of the slave children came up alive in my spirit. Literally, the gospel of reclamation, restoration started to give me new hope because I'd lost it. Yeah. Especially when I read like Deuteronomy 26, is it 26 or 18? 18 and 26, the remnant people, you shall have land, then people are going to be eating from your wealth and and all that stuff. And I just felt it was a dark picture. Yes. But when I went into Ezekiel and Isaiah and Jeremiah and beginning to, in the background now, understanding of the prophecies of what will happen to the chosen and how, and now when I established that the chosen people are the Africans, then I went into the text now, reading through it, finding only the African and ignoring everything else. And then that gave me much more exciting. Then for contemporary conversation, I went into Pan-African interpretation mode, where I look at the biblical text and the issues that are happening as to how are they affecting the African in the Pan-African space and the dialogue there. So I could say it has been an ongoing. I would share with him more methods. I almost came about 11 interpretations, you know, from the reformist to the Yahwist to the dispensationalist to the, you know, historicist to the, you know, it's a whole work of theological studies that I had actually accumulated. There's a whole box in my office that is sitting there because I either had to become a faithful theologian or start dealing with some certain issues that I felt were more important to me. But I could tell you it's a work that is in progress. It has not yet been completed, but it is almost looking at biblical interpretation and with the African perspectives and with a beautiful introduction as to which are the methods in which you can do a good hermeneutic so that you can do a good homiletic. I thank you.
Wow. Okay. Now, Elder, with all this information that you are sharing with us, do you have any platform where you're going to be able to pass it on, or just like, you know, you're speaking to us, you also believe that we're getting something out of it? Because, like, you know, you have done an intensive study into this. You have put in a lot of work, and so for us, just one day listening to you, that might not really, it will ignite something in us. Maybe we have to go and start researching, but I do have a platform where most of us can learn from what you've done.
It's two-way. I never did this with any one of you in mind.
Okay.
It was, you know, there's some stuff that you read for yourself.
Yes.
It's me who needed to know.
Yeah.
But if you feel what I have been reading and have been doing could be beneficiary to you,
right?
Maybe a platform of some sort could be organized, and it's not conclusive. Hence, I had actually made my decision very long time ago that I will no longer get involved in theology and in church conversations, because it just becomes a playfield of lazy people who know where to find data, and they want to walk around making inquiries on other people. So what do you think according to this? But according to what? So for me, it really boils down to, if people want to know, sources are there. You write a paper, you write a paper, you write a paper, you write a paper. In the old school, you put it there, people read, you critique each other, peer review. I think for me that's much healthier. That's a much healthier, you know. Then I can challenge your sources. This source you're using here, it conflicts with this one. How do you reconcile this idea with that idea? How do you put this together? Then it becomes a mental development space where everyone can grow. But possibly you, having been the first people to gather confidence to gather me around yourselves to talk about theology, you would see whether to abuse that opportunity or to use it profitably.
Now, before I ask my brothers to also pose a question, is we are coming from this background, you know, where most of us are still pastoring, you know, and we are growing. We want to learn, and we don't want to repeat some of the mistakes that those who went ahead of us repeated. And so just learning, and as young pastors who are willing to learn. And I know sometimes we are also taking a risk. And I was sharing with my brothers earlier that today in our church circles, we have young people who are not restricting themselves to 66 books of the Bible. They are going outside and reading the Apocrypha, so they know it very well. They are reading the Ethiopian Bible, they know it very well. They are reading other manuscripts or other writings outside there, and they know it very well. And so for us as young pastors, and we're just growing up, and you are there and you have your Bible in your hand, it's going to be some kind of tough trying to preach to such congregation. And
you're in trouble.
Yes.
I could say this as a prophecy. You are the last generation of pastors. Your children will not put up with this rubbish. Your children. You. Mark my words. Read my lips. You are the last generation of pastors of this caliber. Because your children who are coming after you, they're going to shock you. Surprise me and baptize your own child right now. Surprise me and get them interested in church. Shock me. If they are below 5-6 years old, start from there. Start pushing. Let me see in the next 15-20 years what you're going to produce. It's impossible. They need a different kind of texture of mind. The fish has moved. What brought us here won't take us there. with a different generation of information, technology, interaction. The global village is alive and well, and gimmicks and lies and confusions that you have been feeding on. All this thing of speaking in tongues and rolling on the floor, faking miracles, miracle money, what, and the Lord said to me. When they'll look on your face and say, what did he look like when he spoke to you? You will mumble words. Your generation, if you don't repent and fix this mess, I bet you some of you are going to be stoned on your own pulpits by the members.
Wow.
Mark my words. So you either have to pull up your socks very fast to learn, to adapt, to adjust, and be relevant to the environment in which you are moving in, or stick to what you call the church fathers. The church fathers will meet you in the graveyard.
Well,
not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. But I'm saying the amount of progress that we are finding out there, the development and the amount of data and information that is out there, can no longer cope with the quality of information that you have. Someone better pull up their socks. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Jevons.
You sit in a church board, for example, discussing this girl got pregnant. Someone got her pregnant, and there was adultery. Okay? That's your generation. Every pregnancy is an adultery. And the young girl comes up and says, no, I didn't commit adultery. It was artificial insemination. And your books don't have a balance or don't have a solution around artificial insemination. How do you judge them? They are pregnant, they have a child, but they didn't commit adultery. How do you now adapt the concept of discipline for adultery when actual adultery was not committed, but evidence of childbearing is here? What do you do with the doctrines on this side that can begin to understand the environment in which these children are? I didn't have physical sex, but I had sex on the phone. How do you begin to deal with children and congregation like that? It's a totally different fish. Totally different fish. You're not ready. You're not ready to even begin to understand the amount of brain wave that has overtaken our children. And when we come around with this old traditional way of doing the gospel, and what makes the mess, I don't think we've read Revelation 14:6, and I saw an angel flying in the midst of heaven. With the other one says, I saw an angel flying in mid-air. And I decided to translate that passage. I saw an angel flying in mid-air, because mid-air is mid-air. So we cannot say that God is not technologically savvy. We can't say that the spiritual world is not technologically intelligent. You can't say that. In fact, the whole concept of the spirit, it is Wi-Fi, it is Bluetooth, it is 7G. That God can speak to you, bypassing all forms of gadgets, and speak to you, and He's not there. We have not even gone there. And therefore, when you look at our gospel, the way we package it in books and in manuals, and yet you are dealing with a highly sophisticated being who works with the wind, whose ways are in the wind. I don't think we have read that verse that says, my ways are not your ways. As far as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways above your ways. And we think that maybe we own God, when actually God owns us. We are way behind, and some of us are too slow.
Wow. Well, Jevons, you have a question?
I think my question comes in, maybe a clarification I would want to get in from the elder. Yesterday he was talking about the concept of superiority. It says what comes first is superior than what comes sex. I think I had him clear. Then he says when Moses is writing the Old Testament, the 5 books. He's writing these books, but before he writes the books, African civilization is really advanced. And I've been thinking about it. Then my question is based on that, do you want to say that that the African concept of God came first before the Hebrew concept of God? And if the Hebrew concept of God came after the African concept of God, are you trying to validate the fact that Africans have a more superior message of the gospel or of things of God than the Hebrews?
A free lecture, my lord, on the writing of the Old Testament. The Jews are, the Hebrews, the Israelites are taken into Egypt for 490 years. They had forgotten everything about God. That's why the concept of forgive 70 times 7 is 490. Because had they stayed for 500 years, they would have been Gentiles, if you read Hebrew literature. So literally they were left with 10 years to be fully called Gentiles, out of the book.
Wow.
Their knowledge of Yah had dilapidated to zero. To zero. In the 490 years, you can count how many generations
Yes.
had been there.
Yeah.
And then Moshe is born, brought up thoroughly
Yes.
in the Egyptian
literature.
Acts
Yes.
can confirm he was taught
He was taught.
in all forms of knowledge and learning of the whole concept of sorcery and witchcraft, turning sticks into snakes. Moses knew that from training back then. Then he commits a crime and he runs from Egypt into Midian. When you get into Midian, you must account for Hagar,
Yeah.
who is the mother of Ishmael. You must account for Keturah, who is the mother to Midian, to Joshkin,
Jethro.
to Jethro. Moses gets into the house of Jethro, the Midianite, marries the daughter Zipporah. And then Jethro had an advantage, the Midianites, because their pastor was Melchizedek.
Right.
So the knowledge of Yah was not preserved in Egypt, but it was preserved in the loins of Keturah, in the Midianites.
Okay.
So the Midianites were still practicing Hebraic, Abrahamic faith, while the Israelites who were in Egypt were actually slaves of the Egyptians. Hello, welcome Moses. It is Jethro who set down Moses to remind him of the history of his father. For Jethro and Moses were cousins. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And because Moses could write, he started scripting the annex and stories of creation from the Midianite. That is, of course, in the post-exilic area here, where we are. But should we go back now to authenticate the establishment of the empire itself, which was the Egyptian empire, which was holding them captive, which could read and write, which was the Kemetic knowledge system. My brother, I don't need to convince you for everything. Go and read for yourself and find out if what is in the book of Genesis can be found in Kemet. And this one is 4,500 years older than this. I leave that to your academic brain to make your choice. No pressure.
Yeah.
4,000 years earlier than the time Moses comes in the picture. So, because when you pick up the issue of the Midianites and you're picking the issue of 4,000 years before that, in essence you're saying the African concept of understanding of God came much earlier. And maybe you're trying to agree with what Mbiti was trying to say, because Mbiti speaks about that Africans have always known God and we were not introduced to God in any way. I can agree to that partially, not even partially, wholly. But then the question comes in, are you trying to tell us that the Bible is inferior to the concept of how Africans look at God?
I don't know. I leave that to your intellectual mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. If your understanding of God as Africans is the God of unity, the God of love, the God of the community, and the understanding of your Western concept of God is the God who wants to take you to heaven, the God of the theology seminary with all his requirements, you can sit around and say which one is superior. Has the African become more loving, more kind because he's become a Christian? Are we better as Africans because we are Christian? Are there no good Africans there who don't believe in Jesus, who don't believe in the Bible? So in essence, it has this format. I'm not challenging the text, but the format of practice. Has it produced a better product? For me, by their fruits.
Yeah.
You shall know them.
Yes.
So you tell me now the greatest liars and greatest thieves and thugs are Christians. And the most upright and honest people are traditional people. His word is his word. I'll bring your cow tomorrow, you bring it.
Yeah.
Maybe just this bit of it. Thank you for that. That's a good clarification. Maybe you're giving me time to read a little bit of this 4,000 years before. I want to read about those times, and I'm looking forward to have.
And when you get to the Egyptians, go to the Akkadians, go to the Sumerians,
Yes.
and you'll find that the 6,000 year period allocated in the Bible for creation, it's
If I heard you clearly yesterday, you touched the nation on canonicity, I think. Yeah, you touched a bit of canonicity. And there was this concept where maybe some books were left out because they were having some...
Chief, let's talk like scholars.
Yes.
Yeah, there are no church members here.
Okay.
There are no church members here.
Okay.
Let's not maybe. Let's speak from authority.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, let's speak from authority. We know we are all pastors here. We've all been trained here.
Yes. Yeah.
I get it. Okay. The concept of canonicity, you are like yesterday. You said some books were taken out of the Bible.
I don't say that. Don't put it on me.
Not taken out of the Bible. Were
They
not
were.
put in the Bible because they
You're not, we're not hearing me.
Yes.
Don't take it on me.
Yes.
Okay.
I did not say the books were taken away.
Yeah.
Be a scholar.
Yes. It's true they were taken away.
It's-
Speak with authority.
That's what he said.
Yes. Yeah.
Speak with authority.
I didn't get you.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what he said.
like me. I'm coming up with a new concept that books were taken away.
What you were saying, you were telling me, just speak authoritatively that they were taken
Yes,
away.
yes.
My brother, speak like you.
I'm coming from a perspective where I don't know where they were taken away.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think one of us must take him aside and upgrade his software. You know.
I'm speaking from the perspective that
That's
the books
okay.
were not taken away.
Right.
okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to know, because you were talking, they were taken away. But the fact, the question is, why do you think these books were taken away? And if they were taken away, did they carry important information that some people feared that if these books are a part of the canon, then they were going to bring revolution or something?
I'm very glad we have a church father, a whole Catholic priest who is here, a bishop.
Yes.
They are the ones who took them away. So he can answer. But from my corner, I can give you one or two, and then I will want to hand over to my elder there. When it comes to Catholic theology, I'm a student to him.
Yes.
He went through the Jesuit training, and I did not. So you can learn one or two things from him. But one thing that I learned, the book of Maccabees, the books of Tobit, and some of those books, you literally find in those books, they encourage the usages of mpepo, incenses, healing, medicine, herbs, and stuff like that. And I think in the colonial system, they're not going to be tolerating that because you'll have given the African the window to continue using his voodoo and muti in the church. So some of those passages that he had to do anything with recommending in terms of using herbs, the hearts and livers of dolphins to chase away evil spirits, and it's there in some of those books. and how would we going to stop people from practicing their African indigenous medicines when actually some of these books literally show you even the process of how to exorcise and remove a demon? And I think in the back of their heads, this could have been a very critical part,
Right.
because the center of the African power
Yes.
was rooted in their usage of herbs,
Yeah.
and the allowing of those books to permeate into school. In fact, we only got the full Bible as Africans very recently.
Yeah.
The original Bible that arrived here were the first 4 books: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Remember the Gideons? And that was all. And the missionary said, that's all the African needs. Just introduce them to Jesus. Then people started complaining. Then they added the book of Psalms. You remember?
Yeah.
Then they went, and then they introduced the Gideons, the New Testament only.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there. There's the 60s and 70s. I remember going to school and these missionaries came distributing Bibles, and only from Matthew, and then with the Proverbs and Psalms at the end. And I think towards the mid 70s, 80s, we started seeing the first time seeing the complete Bible, almost like coming out from a hidden place,
Yes.
and we started holding the full text in our hands. Even the translation of that was a highly guarded institution where every country, this mission would make sure that the translations are of the quality that was managing the colonial project. And you being scholars, you can't do that. You can't do that. Scholarship must be away from politics.
Right.
But I think I will leave the rest. So one issue I could pick up very quickly was the issue that medicine and indigenous herbs were continued to be used if they had allowed it. Secondly, the issues of Genesis and creations. Some of those books would blow your head off. But they will tell you that Abraham was also in Egypt. There's books of the Adam and Eve when they were chased away from the garden, where they were living in the caves and the lifestyles that they were living there. You'll have fun if you read some of those books. The book of Joshua, for example, you would giggle your lungs out. The whole chronology of the Bible goes upside down. Upside down. Even now, in our Bible now, it's still not clear. You have Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. When you get to the chapter 11 of the book of Genesis, you must actually stop there and open a big gap in Genesis 11 and take the whole book of Job and plant it there.
Yeah.
It does not belong where it is there. You put it there because when Nimrod created and built the city of Ur, then Job was a man from the land of Uz.
Yeah.
And after Job, then you put Abraham.
Okay.
Then you cruise a little bit. You go. By the time you come to the book of Daniel, the book of Kings, you have chaos, and Ezra and Nehemiah. There's a problem right there. Because chronologically speaking, you cannot have the lives of Hezekiah being related in Kings, which is almost 2-3 books behind, and the book of Nehemiah being behind. Yet Nehemiah lived after Daniel, and Ezra lived after Daniel in Artaxerxes' time, in the times of the Medes and the Persians. So you might need to actually take the pieces of the book of Kings and move it further up, and move Nehemiah and Ezra right up after the book of Jeremiah, and then take some prophecies of Jeremiah and Ezekiel and move them back, because those lived before Daniel. So even the chronology of the Bible as we have it right now, academically speaking, it is still in a shambles. Maybe I can leave that some scholars to go and have a look at it. It's not. You need a chronological Bible where events can happen as they could have happened, logically speaking. Because I don't hear you preaching about Daniel, then you're quoting Isaiah in the future, when actually Isaiah was a precursor to the slavery of the Israelites in Babylon. So
That's true.
but I want to leave my learned friend there too.
Okay.